Hi everybody, it's Annabelle and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to be doing a 1-year update on my Dimorphorchis Lowii, which is a rare orchid that I got as part of a kind of project. I kind of got it because I'd seen it on the Orchid YouTube community project, which involved 4 YouTubers, Gardening at Duenza, Rogers Orchids, MissOrchidGirl and Orchid Dude BCN. They all got a Dimorphorchis Lowii seedling from the same place at the same time. I think it was organised by Orchid Dude BCN, and they wanted to see how it would grow across 4 different climates, and I tracked their progress for a year or so, and then I came across one for sale and I kind of thought, well, why not, I'll go for it. And then I started my YouTube channel and it kind of all clicked into place, and I thought, well, I'll do a little series on it too, completely separate from theirs. But I figured I would just update you guys on how it's doing now and some improvements in growth that I've noticed, some of the things I've noticed about its culture and how it grows, what it likes, things from my experience, because I actually think it's growing very well, which I wasn't expecting based on the experiences on the YouTube orchid community. It seemed like there were a few issues people were running into, so I just thought I would just chat around what I think of as its care. And we've also got a couple of new arrivals fitting into this category that I will also introduce you to in this video. So let's get started and chat a little bit about its care and how its progress has been. So I thought I would start off by just giving you a little bit of background information about the Dimorphorchis Lowii, what makes it a little bit different to other Vandaceous species, and why it may struggle in a kind of typical home environment, and that may lead to the kind of generalization that it's a slow grower. So Dimorphorchis Lowii seems to require quite different care than a typical Vanda, likely due to its natural habitat niche. It's evolved in hot, humid climates in Borneo rainforests. It's often found growing on trees in ravines, overhanging rivers, which means that it's going to be experiencing an extremely hot, humid microenvironment with very little seasonal temperature variation. It's going to be really high natural humidity, partly due to the location and partly due to the fact that it's basically overhanging rivers. It's going to be getting a little bit of spray from rivers, possibly more humidity around that area, and that humidity is going to mean that there's going to be a dew point pretty much every morning, so it's going to be collecting dew on the roots a lot. So it's basically growing in a very moist environment. Basically it's very humid, very moist, very hot and steamy. So if it's evolved in a very kind of moist, humid environment, it could well be that its care differs from a typical Vandaceous type of orchid, and that could lead to its reputation of being a slower grower. I, as you can see, have potted mine. Now, originally I potted it into a mixture of bark and sphagnum moss. I played it very safe when I first got it because I was a little bit scared of it, to be honest, based on its reputation. But actually it grew really well, and when I switched all of my Vandaceous orchids over into inorganic mixes in sort of self-watering setups back in autumn, I also switched this one over. I've kept this above 20 degrees Celsius because in nature it experiences very little seasonal temperature variation. It's a hot grower, not a warm grower. It's a hot grower, and it's not really going to want temperatures below 20 degrees Celsius, and if possible it's going to want it a lot higher. It's probably quite comfortable between 25 and 30 degrees Celsius as long as lots of moisture is provided. I think that's probably the ideal growing conditions for it. As you can see, mine's potted into a mixture of synthic, pumice and leca. And there's a couple of grow stones thrown in here to provide a little bit extra aeration. The synthic really provides that extra moisture and prevents any layering effect, so it's moist all the way up to the top. And I think the Dimorphorchis Lowii really appreciates having the synthic in there in this mix. In my experience and in my opinion, humidity doesn't matter too much for many warmer growing orchids. My reasoning behind this, and my experiences have been, is that humidity is there to stop or prevent so much water being lost through the leaves in a process known as transpiration, which is the drive of movement from water, uptake through the roots, movement through the plant, and then loss through the leaf. And it has to be lost to create that gradient by which the water moves through the plant, delivers nutrient, energy and water throughout the plant. So there is this transpiration that's needed, which is why too high humidity, it can be just as bad as very low humidity. However, if you're providing plenty of moisture around the root zone, you're replenishing the water that the orchid is losing through transpiration. So, for example, in lowish humidity conditions, say 30%, as long as you're providing adequate moisture through the roots and watering correctly, you can balance the moisture loss that the orchid is experiencing. Obviously, extremes of temperature and low humidity can cause issues with this, but as a general rule, this is my opinion on it, and this is what I found, and I don't believe that for the Dimorphorchis lowii, high humidity in the home is massively important if you can keep it well watered but still maintain good gas exchange and aeration around the root zone. With regards to the slow growth reported for this orchid species, I attribute this to a similar kind of situation as with the Rhynchostylis gigantea, which I also don't feel is that massively slow of a grower. But if you don't meet its requirements, yes, it will grow very slowly. So I think there are some orchids that are grouped maybe as Vandas and require typical Vanda care, that may be true in a greenhouse, growing them all in the same conditions. If you're hosing them down regularly, may well mean that they need exactly the same care. But I feel like in the home, with lower humidity, drier conditions, things are going to be drying out much faster, that maybe we need to adapt different setups to their needs. And I found personally that my Rhynchostylis giganteas grow extremely well in a self-watering setup with a mixture of leca and other materials. Again, the Dimorphorchis lowii seems to grow very well in a similar mix. If I was to compare the Dimorphorchis lowii to any other orchid in my collection, I would say that the culture and its requirements most closely resemble that of the Rhynchostylis giganteas, and that to me it seems like to have a very similar growth pattern, temperature requirements, moisture requirements, and give it the closest care to my Rhynchostylis giganteas compared to my other Vandaceous species. Now, I've also recently acquired the Demofocus rossii, which is reportedly a faster grower than the Dimorphorchis lowii, so I thought it would be very interesting to try that one out and give it a similar sort of care. But what I received was not necessarily what was described on the website. So I'll let you kind of tell me whether you think that this is 3 years from flowering, bearing in mind that there was a group for 3+ years from flowering, and this was intentionally grouped in the 3- years from flowering, so less than 3 years from flowering size. I would say that this is more like 5 to 7 years from flowering size, but you know, it's a faster grower than the Dimorphorchis lowii apparently. Maybe I'm wrong. I was fortunate to get 2 seedlings in this pot, so that's good, and I'm going to try them out in the same sort of setup as the Dimorphorchis lowii. I've got them in a semi-hydroponic setup instead of self-watering, possibly slightly less airy, but I don't think the Dimorphorchis lowii has a problem with that, so I'm going to assume a very similar care since they are found in very similar environments, and we'll see how it does. It's got large air pockets in the media, and I'll just be interested to compare the growth rate of the two. I thought it would be very interesting. They both have the classical 2 colour form flowers that give them the name Dimorphorchis. The rossii has more yellow flowers, and the second flower form is a paler yellow, whereas the lowii has the classic red flowers with the spotting and the yellow flowers as well, so there's more of a contrast with the lowii. But the rossii would be rewarding if it was slightly faster growing, so that'll be interesting to see, because obviously I've got some quite small plants here. And this is a comparison to my lowii. I'm really pleased with how this is done. So I'm going to move on to some new orchids that I bought relating to these guys. So I got a notification through from a nursery that I've ordered from before, which is Grosserachena Orchidine, that they had Dimorphorchis lowii and rossii, and they were pretty cheap. So I just thought, in the interest of science and experimentation, and I just love orchids and I love trying new setups and I just love really figuring them out, I would get another one of each. Since they came up, they're not that readily available, but if I can kind of optimize my care and present it, then maybe I can help other people, and it'll be an interesting learning curve. So I've got some more plants. I know, so you're shocked. So I've also got another type of Vanda in here. I'm just going to speed through the unpacking process of these, and we'll see what the size compares to the ones I've already got. The lowii is listed as 2 years from blooming size here, and I trust this nursery a little bit more, so I think I can guess which is which. The rossii was a much smaller plant. So I've just unpacked the lowii, and although the leaf span is quite long, it's got much fewer leaves than my lowii actually does. So I'm not actually sure if this is any closer to flowering size than my current lowii that I've spent the year growing on. The rossii is, I'll arrange them in order, so the rossii is just to the left of the lowii, in the middle there. And then I also ordered a small size Vanda pumila. I'm quite excited about the Vanda pumila. There's not a lot of them around, and I've kind of wanted one for a while. They're very gorgeous. And this one seemed like a better size than some of the other plants that were available for a similar price. So these are my 3 new orchids linking onto my Dimorphorchis update. Let's see how they grow. Obviously you can see the Rossii that I've got here for the same price as the 2 seedlings in the pot that I've already got. It's much bigger, and the Lowii, not massively impressed with for the price, but it definitely has a larger leaf span than my current one. And what I'll be doing with this new one is potting it into a slightly different setup using one of the air pots to provide even more aeration around the root zone and see if it responds better to that, or whether it does prefer a more kind of evenly moist setup. So that'll be interesting to compare, and it'll be interesting to compare the 2 Rossii that I've got and compare the Rossii to the Lowii, look at their care requirements. All of my Vandaceous types are potted in inorganic mixes, variations of semi-hydro, self-watering, using air pots now, a lot of them, or Urchid pots to provide even more oxygenation. So I'll be trying these new setups out, and obviously I'll report back, and that can help inform us a little bit more about their care. This is my final little lineup, and I'm super happy with the Rossii and the Vandaceous from Grosseracina Orchidine, but I'm not so amazed by the Lowii. I think we can recover it, but it's going to drop that little leaf on the right there, and it's looking like it's had a little bit too much direct sun. I would say that this is probably not a particularly high light Vandaceous type, maybe to induce blooming, but mine has been grown under LEDs up until I moved, and it's been doing great, so I don't think it requires massively high light. And that rounds up everything for today on my Demofocus update. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you found this series useful, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like or subscribe to my channel for more regular orchid updates, and I will see you guys all later. Bye!